Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the podcast Vitality Mentality. As you can see, I now have Joe on camera. I figured it out. Well, Joe figured it out, let's be fair. Joe's the one that really
Yeah.
figured this out. Oh, hold on. I forgot to hit record on Zencaster. There we go. Boom. Oh, wait. It's not letting me record on Zencaster either. You know what? We'll just rip the audio from here.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
I think we'll be okay. Let me just make sure everyone can hear you. Hey, can you guys hear Joe? Hey, what's up, Ali?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
I should be able to. Hey, what's up, Z-Bot? Z-Boot? Give me some cops. Hey, somebody answer. Yes, you can hear Joe? All right, perfect. All right, well, we're gonna use this as our podcast, and we're gonna upload to iTunes. So I'm gonna restart the intro. So just pretend like you didn't hear it. Are you ready? Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Vitality Mentality. I'm here with my co-host, Joe DeProfio. What's going on, Joe?
Oh, not a whole lot. How are you doing today, Scott?
I'm doing pretty good. As you guys can see, if you're actually watching this on YouTube, there's a ton of boxes behind me because I've been packing up all my crap because I'm making that move to Florida in about 2 weeks, which is really, really scary. Uh, and, I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to have our podcast this week just because things have been so nuts, but the podcast did really well last time. We really enjoyed the banter, and we learned a bit about how we should run it. And so Joe and I discussed it, and we figured our podcasts are going to be about an hour, and we're going to discuss the subject for about 45 minutes, and then open up to questions from you guys for the last 15 minutes. But throughout the entire podcast, we'll be watching the comment section, so we will be interacting with you guys. It's just that we won't open the floor open to complete questions until the last 15 minutes. So that's how it's going to work.
Yep.
Hey, look, we got JCV Goku joining us in the podcast. What's going on,
What's going on,
man?
JCV?
So guys, today's topic is about bullying. And as you guys saw, the actual topic title was a little interesting. But it had to be that way because that's kind of how I feel. It's bullies. Why can't you beat the crap out of them? Why can't you beat them senseless? And I think it's a valid question to ask. And I thought it would be great to kind of start off this podcast by maybe giving you guys a little bit of background history, as to why I formulated my opinion. I mean, I'm all for beating the crap out of bullies. That's my opinion, at least. Joe, what's your opinion? Beat them up or ignore them?
I mean, the first time I ever got into a fight with a bully was the last time I ever got into a fight with a bully. I was never bothered again.
Nice. Well, so see, I guess we're both on the same page. But
Yeah, pretty much.
So to give you guys a little background on me, believe it or not, when I was a kid, I was very introverted. I was very quiet. I had friends and everything. I had a really good childhood, but I wasn't really good at talking smack. Kids would talk smack to me, and I wouldn't know what to do. And I went to school in a different area for kindergarten and first grade, and I already formed like really strong bonds and friendships with kids that I was going to school with then. And then when I moved to a new town in second grade, I was the new kid. I wasn't really a part of the cliques. Like I basically went from living in an area where recess was the parking lot, like just the parking lot pavement, to a school in a nicer neighborhood where recess was like a kickball field, jungle gym, basketball court, like just different growing uppings. And I got picked on a lot, and I was in the principal's office like every single day from second grade to third grade because I was getting picked on. And then I would beat the crap out of the kids picking on me, or I'd fight them. And I just didn't understand why it was okay for them to hurt my feelings, but I couldn't hurt them physically. Because to me, it's the same thing. Um, and then that's kind of when I started, finding other outlets like superheroes and anime, and I started doing wrestling, and I started working out like doing push-ups every day. When you're in third grade, you're not just gonna hit the gym. I just like do push-ups and stuff. And I have an older brother who picked on me relentlessly, and his friends picked on me relentlessly. And I remember even one time in middle school, like my brother and his friends were over playing football, and they each one of his friends held my right arm, and his other friend held my left arm, and they took turns like kicking me in the back. And when I went inside, obviously upset, my stepdad told me, he said, "Well, if you don't want to get beat up, then don't play with them." And I was like, "Oh, so that's the solution here. Don't go tell them to be not stop being jerks. Tell me that I'm being basically a wuss and I shouldn't play with them if I can't handle them beating the shit out of me for no reason." Makes a lot of sense, don't you think, Joe?
No, yeah, it makes total sense.
Makes total
Um,
sense to me. So, anyways, so that kind of got me started on my fitness journey. And my older brother now, he jokes. He's like, if it wasn't for me picking on you, you wouldn't have your business. And to a degree, he's right. And we'll talk about that because a lot of you, I was reading the comments before the stream started. You talked about how being bullied, it can go either way. It can either go really bad or it can make you the person that you are today if that person is confident and successful. So we're going to touch on both ends of that spectrum. But Joe, why don't you tell a little bit of your story?
so when I was in school, like elementary school, everything like that, I was I was really quiet, kind of shy. I didn't really talk a whole lot, and like kids would take advantage of that. I had an older sister and a younger sister, so where kids might see me being nice to my younger sister, or would see my older sister, standing up for me or something like that. Like I was kind of like a wuss or whatever. And I decided when I was like in sixth grade or so, like between me and my parents, we got me into karate classes, and that made a pretty big difference. Um, I started to actually have some of that confidence to say to someone who was picking on me, like, no, you know what? How about you shut up and stop talking to me like that? Because I'm not going to take it. And the first time that I actually like put my foot down with someone, they were saying really like nasty stuff about like my older sister, and it was it was during assessment testing in the sixth grade. And I don't know if how many of you went through the actual assessment testing like at the state level, but we would have like hours and hours and hours of standardized testing in the classroom, and then because we were in the same spot for so long, they would let us go outside. So I said, you know what? It's assessment testing. You're bugging the crap out of me, and I'm not taking this anymore. So when we go outside, like we're gonna have a real conversation about it. And
A
then
real
and
conversation with our fists in your
with our
face.
fists. So we did. We got into a fist fight. It got broken up by one of the teachers. We sat down in the principal's office, and we both got suspended for 3 days. And then no one messed with me. That was just it. That was the first and last time that anybody ever decided that they were going to say stuff like that and not immediately take it back as soon as I said, "What did you just say?"
And I kind of have the same thing as you because the kids that picked on me relentlessly, they stopped the day I basically punched them right in the face and knocked them out. Hey, get your microphone off your face, man. It's making too much noise when you move. Can you pull it out? Can you pull it away from your? There you go. Yep, perfect. Okay. So what I was saying was the same thing for me. I was getting picked on like relentlessly, and one day I was at a point where my parents were pissed because they always had to come to school and talk to the principal because I was always in the principal's office. So I was trying to be good, and this one kid, I just knocked his face in and broke his nose, and then people left me alone. And I was happy with that. And people like to say violence isn't the answer, but it's a lesson that I learned at a young age. And to me, I was always into like superheroes and I was always into anime and comics and stuff like that. And at that time, when I punched this kid in the face, I wanted to be like Superman. Like my favorite superhero when I was a kid was Superman. I had everything Superman. And Superman would beat up the bad people. And I saw this kid picking on me, picking on other people, making them cry. And I was like, he's bad. So I'm going to do what Superman would do. I'm going to punch him right in the face. And that's what I did. And he left me alone. And I kind of took it upon myself like, I want to be able to help other people. I don't like this feeling of getting made fun of. And I hate how schools, they don't weigh they don't weigh emotional abuse the same as physical abuse. Because to someone like me, I mean, I'm a strong person. I've done a lot of different sports that like involve contact. I've done kickboxing. I've done, some pretty intense training for stuff like that. I don't mind getting punched in the face. But if you relentlessly, bash me emotionally with your words, like that's what really gets me upset and down. And to say that it's okay to pick on someone every single day to the point to where they kill themselves, that's okay. But to say you can't fight back is wrong. I don't get the correlation between that.
Right. I mean, we actually in New Hampshire, there was just recently there was an 11-year-old girl. She just recently killed herself because she was bullied relentlessly, right? And these kids were saying things like, "If I looked like you, I would kill myself." Like they just said all sorts of like awful, awful, awful stuff to this young girl. She was 11, and like it was insane. Like granted, like that was her decision to make, but at the same time she's 11 years old. She doesn't know how to handle that sort of like emotional stress or anything like that. So as far as like what we could do about it, like none of the teachers did anything. No one prevented her from being bullied. Nobody stepped in. But in public schools, that's exactly what they're telling kids to do. They don't say, if someone's bullying you, you can do something about it. It's just, it's you tell a teacher, and when the teacher intervenes, that's when everything is over.
Yeah, exactly. Really quick, Joe. I think you might have your external speakers on and it's echoing off your microphone. Just make sure no other audio besides your microphone is on, real quick.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I feel exactly the same way, and it's almost like, and parents, unfortunately, parents nowadays, a lot of them not aren't as involved in their kids' lives, and that's kind of a double whammy because if you're not super involved in your kids' lives, then they're not going to feel comfortable telling you they're getting bullied, and then if they do tell you and you're not really involved, they just kind of say, "Oh, well, just ignore them and they'll go away." And that should never be the answer. You can never A bully will never go away if you ignore them. If anything, if you ignore a bully, they might lose interest in you, but they're just going to go find someone else to bully. And if you're strong enough to take the abuse while ignoring the bully, good for you. But the next person might not be. The next person might be someone like this little girl who couldn't take it. Nobody was helping her. Maybe she didn't have any friends. And this, yeah, like Matt Granger said, you need a good school that has zero tolerance for bullying, kick out the bullyings. But yeah, but unfortunately, it's zero tolerance for any sort of altercations. Like, it doesn't matter whose fault it is, you both get in trouble. Maybe this girl felt helpless. Like, it's almost like the school system should be held responsible for these kids killing themselves or wanting to commit suicide or attempting to commit suicide because their policy is wrong. There's like kids are afraid to fight back because they don't want to get suspended because they're good kids. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's like you're the good kid, you're studying, you're going to school, you're not on your phone the entire day, you're listening to teachers, you're turning in your homework, and then you have to deal with some douchebag picking on you, and you're a good kid, so you know that if you fight back, you're going to get suspended, but you don't want to get suspended because maybe you're trying to get like a perfect attendance record, or maybe there's a test coming up that you don't want to miss, or maybe there's a school project you have to do that you're really excited to do. And you know if you beat the crap out of your bully, you're going to get suspended and you're going to get marked down on your grades. So it's like, what do you do even as a good person?
Right. And it's either you play by the rules that the school system has put out, or you play by your own rules. And if you play by your own rules and those aren't what gets accepted, right, then you're in trouble. And then there's all this other stuff that doesn't go well for you, right? I've like I said, I just started taking karate classes in the 6th grade. I've been taking karate classes at the same place for 20 years. I had like a little break when I went to college, but I went right back to the same place. My martial arts instructor has a daughter. She's 14 years old now, which is, or almost 16, I think. I don't remember how old she is. It's insane. But she's naturally gifted, right? Like she's good at martial arts. She doesn't really practice very much that I know of. But a kid was picking on her in school, and she did something about it because she knows how to do something about it. And her dad gets the phone call, and he's a really funny guy, and he goes down to the school and he's talking to the principal, and the principal says, well, even if she knows how to defend herself, she has to wait until a teacher intervenes. She can't do anything to defend herself. And her name could be Ken. um, and he said, okay, so let me put this the other way for you. So I'm going to start hitting you in your office, and you can call the police. I'll let you call the police, but you can't do anything to stop me from hitting you until the police show up. How does that sound to you?
And she's like, "All right, let's go. Hit me." and a lot of times too, it's like I feel like a lot of teachers want to be able to help, and they want to be able to do things. But in America, we've turned into such a society of just pushovers, pansies, if you want to go that far, where everybody needs to be morally just, and they just like to say things that sound cool. Like violence is bad. Well, this country was built on violence. You think the British left us alone because we asked them nicely? No, we killed them like relentlessly until they left. Like that's just what the country was built on. Now, I'm not saying you need to kill your bully, but I'm just saying at the end of the day, if you want people to leave you alone, you have to take action. Sometimes that action might resort to a physical altercation. And it's just the way it is. Like people words don't do anything to most people, especially someone who feels like they have the kind of power that they have to make you feel a certain way. It's just crazy to me that you get in trouble for these things. So I would love to one day have a son, and I've talked to my wife about this topic before. Obviously, it comes up. I have a daughter. You guys know that, my stepdaughter. Luckily, she doesn't get bullied at school, but she's starting college next year. And I was like, if anybody gives you any crap in college, I will drive there like the second that something happens, and I will make sure it never happens again. And my daughter, she openly tells us things that are happening to her, and things that are happening in her life, because we created a safe space where she can talk about these things. She doesn't feel judged, and she feels secure in telling us. And I told my wife, if we ever have a kid, we have a son, even a daughter, actually, whether it's a son or daughter, if we ever have another child, I'm going to teach that child how to defend itself. And if my child goes to school and sees someone getting bullied, and they step in and beat the crap out of the bully and get suspended, I'm going to make sure that when they do go back to school, they have all kinds of new crap to show off, like the latest Game Boy, the latest coolest shoes, clothes, like whatever the coolest thing is at that point, she's going to go to school with it and be like, "Look what my parents bought me for beating the crap out of so and so for bullying people." And every single time my kid gets in trouble, they're almost gonna like seek out bullies, because they know if they beat up a bully, they're gonna get a present. And that's the kind of kid I'm gonna raise, because that kid's gonna grow up and is gonna be the kind of person that where you're on the street and you're about to get mugged or stabbed by some gangbanger or whatever, my kid's gonna be the one who steps in and saves you, not all the other cowards who were brought up, and taught to run away and ignore bullies. And that's just the reality of the matter.
Oh, seriously. And I'm just gonna throw this out there. Like this episode of the podcast is not sponsored or anything, but just like in the episode of Cobra Kai, it's like the generation needs a method of fighting that is not accepted by like the pussified values that we currently have. Like it's everything is like it's just insane. Like nobody, you're not allowed to fight back. You're not allowed to say anything to anybody about anything, even if it's like, completely and totally morally wrong. As soon as you stand up for yourself, you're the asshole. Like it's awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. And it's something that needs to change. And let me tell you guys something too. I don't want you guys to think that I'm like actively seeking out like to beat the crap out of people. I'll tell you guys a few stories that are a little intense. So I grew up. I was into wrestling. I was always into like fighting. I watched a lot of anime, a lot of Dragon Ball Z. I read a lot of comics, X-Men, Marvel, superhero, and I didn't admire these people or these characters because they knew how to fight and beat people up. I admired them because they stuck up for what was right, and that was what I got out of this. Maybe not everybody gets that, but that's what I got out of this. And so I wanted to be more like that. I wanted to go to the gym. I wanted to get bigger. And then I started taking kickboxing classes to learn how to fight, to not only defend myself, but to protect my friends and family. And when I was in high school, there was a group of kids. We called them the skater kids because they they had skateboards. I guess that's why we called them that. Like they were like the at the time they were like from the rich part of town. They thought they were so much cooler than everybody else, and there's a few instances with them. So there was one instance where for like 3 months straight. I'd walk the same path to my car. I parked at my friend's house, which was like down the street from my school, and they would always drive by and just flip me off and yell faggot out the window. Like, I didn't even know who these kids were. And every single day they would drive by, yell faggot out the window, and they flip me off. And that was like 3 months. And I talked to like other kids in school about the skater kids, and they said the same thing. Like, these kids would constantly pick on them too. We're like, we don't even know why. So I remember this. There's two stories. So one time I had my friend Justin's girlfriend with me. I was giving her a ride home because she lived next to me, and I had an '84 Camaro, and it was like blizzarding out. And these kids just happened to drive by and flip me off as I was about to get in my car. And I kid you not, I got in my car and I'm like whipping it sideways, going all the way down this road, and I finally catch up to them. I catch up to them at their house, and they lived like in a cul-de-sac. So I like do like a few donuts, to kind of like set the mood. Then I get out of the car, and there's four kids, and I'm like, "Which one of you's yelling out the window?" And then they all point to one kid. I won't say his name just because he's a good guy now. They all point to one kid, and I go over to him. I'm like, "You think you're cool?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "You gonna cut the shit?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You gonna stop being a little?" I said, "Bitch." So I'm just gonna say it, like, excuse my language. I'm like, "You gonna stop being a little bitch?" And he's like, "Yes." I'm like, "What are you gonna stop being?" He's like, "I'm gonna stop being a little bitch." And I'm like, "That's right." And so my friend's girlfriend is like laughing her balls off in the car, and it was enough for me to just be intense, like with my actions, to scare them, because I do not like to have physical altercations with people. I do not like it. And like after that day, they left me alone. They started leaving other kids alone because it's like they had never thought in a million years that somebody would follow them home and get in their face because they lived in the rich part of town. So these kids grew up entitled, thinking they could do whatever the hell they wanted because mommy and daddy paid for everything, and life was good. And it's like, if you bring up your kids to be like that and you don't teach them like good morals and values, that's what you get. And then you get a kid like me or Joe who says, "No, no, no, bro, this isn't happening anymore." That's my story. Oh, am I here? Story number two. Okay, so story number two. Joe's waiting. If you guys can see Joe, he's like, "I'm waiting for story number two." So story number two is a little more intense, and so I'm gonna tell you, like, this story is kind of funny. So a week before this altercation happened, and this altercation happened when I had been training you like basically like UFC style fighting for like 2 years. And I want to bring this up because I feel like I've been able to avoid a lot of altercations, of possible altercations in my life because I know how to handle myself. It's like I won't even take it that far because I know I can handle myself, and I don't need to take it that far, if that makes sense. It's like when you know how to fight, you know how to protect yourself, you almost kind of exude this confidence that people can start to pick up on as things get to be a bit heated, and then they usually leave you alone. This instance was probably the furthest I've ever got to almost getting into an actual fist fight like outside of training. I've never had to get into any sort of fist fight outside of training, and I'm proud of that. And I don't ever want to have to get that far, but this was the closest. Okay, so the week before this happened, I was driving my Camaro to the mall, and there was another Camaro broken down on the side of the road. And I pulled over because I always had tools in my Camaro because my Camaro would always break as well. So I always had like all the tools I would need, like ratchets and screwdrivers or whatever, to like fix stupid stuff. I had an '84 Camaro. They just break and they're easy to fix. Anyways, I pull over and I help this random kid. His name was Josh. I helped this random kid fix his car, and we became friends. Like, "Oh yeah, hey, thanks for the help, whatever." So fast forward a week, I'm at the movie theater with my friends, and we're leaving the movie theater, and I'm on one side of the theater, and my friend is on the other side. My friends are on the other side of the theater, and I yelled across to them, and I'm like, "Hey guys, I'm going out back." And so then I go out back because they were going to the bathroom. So I'm out back by myself waiting, and these four people come out, three dudes and a chick, and this dude gets in my face and he's like, "What'd you say to my girlfriend?" And I'm like, nothing. Like, I didn't say anything to your girlfriend. I'm like, I was talking to my friends that were going to the bathroom, and then he just like, he kept he got in my face, like, "What'd you say to my girlfriend?" I said, "Listen, man, I'm really sorry, but I didn't say anything to your girlfriend. Like, I swear to God." And it's almost like he was taking me, like, trying to apologize as weakness, and so he just kept getting in my face. He's like, "What'd you say to my girlfriend?" He's like in my face. So at this point, like, my friends come outside, and I had like 6 friends, and then like 10 other friends of mine that just happened to be going to the movies as a group came. So like these 4 kids are in my face, and my back's against the wall. And then, unknown to them, there's like 15 kids behind them, like in a circle, all my friends. None of them stepping in because they knew I could handle myself. So they had no idea that these kids were behind them. And so I'm apologizing to this kid. And I remember even at one point, I was using my hands to like apologize, and I touched him with my hands. And I was like, "I didn't mean to touch you." I go, "I'm just trying to say I'm sorry." And so then he like takes his finger, and I'll never forget. And in the area that I live, like in the 90s and early 2000s, calling somebody a faggot was like the worst thing ever to be called. So everyone used that word. And so he puts his finger in my chest, and he's like, "Would you say to my girlfriend, you faggot?" And he just like jabbed me in the chest with his finger, and I just like snapped, and I kid you not, I picked this kid up by his throat, and I threw him against the wall, and I was like, "I didn't say anything to your ugly girlfriend," and I'm like screaming at him, and I'm like, "I will rip your throat out." Like, I was trying to use aggressive language and yelling to get this kid to leave me alone because I didn't want to fight him. And so I'm screaming in his face, and then I look, and his 2 friends and his girlfriend took off. I'm like, "Your friends left you to die," right? So then I start to feel a tug on my arm, and it's this kid Josh that I just fixed his car for him like a week ago. He's like, "Scott," he's like, "What are you doing?" And I can flip the switch really easy, so like I turn to him and I just smile. I'm like, "Oh, hey, what's up, Josh?" I'm like, "This kid just started picking on me, so whatever. And so anyway, so my friend Josh was like, "The cops are coming," and I was like, "Oh, okay." So I let the kid go, and then the cop came outside, and he's like, "What's going on here?" And then the kid shook my hand, and he's like, "I'll see you next week, right?" And then he took off, and the cop's like, "What was that all about?" I was like, "This kid tried to fight me, so I picked him up by his throat and threw him against the wall, and then he just pretended to be my friend when you came out here because he was afraid of getting in trouble." And the cop was just looking at me like, "Do you really just tell me the truth?" And he's like, "All right, well, he's like, don't get into any fights over here." I was like, "All right." So then a week after that, I was at my friend Ashley's house. Hi, babe. All right, sweet pie. Love you. That was the wife. So a week later, I was at my friend Ashley's house, and this girl Rhonda was there, and she's like, "Oh my God, you guys, I saw this crazy thing happen at the Loop the other week," and she basically tells the story, and she's like, "This kid was insane. I thought he was gonna kill this guy." I'm like, "Did he have a blue shirt on with like gray on it?" She's like, "Yeah, were you there?" I was like, "Yeah, I was the kid." She's like, "No way." I was like, "Yeah," and it was funny to me because I've known this girl for years, and I was in such a state of aggressiveness that she didn't even recognize me. But the point of that story was that I was getting picked on. I was in a situation where it was not four, 3 against 1, and I was able to get out of it without having to take it to an all-out fist fight through intimidation and just knowing how to handle myself. And before it goes away, I did see the donation from Marvin Madrano. Thank you so much for donating to the chat, man. That really means a lot. Thank you so much. But the moral of that story is like you guys have been watching my videos for years and years and years. I don't try to portray myself as this like super like badass kind of person. But just like many of you, when push comes to shove, like you need to be able to protect yourself and not feel like if you do protect yourself, you're going to go to jail or get suspended from school.
Seriously. And like that just should be how it works. Like I'm not saying that we need to like go back to like the dark ages of like you carry a sword on your hip and if somebody offends you, you challenge them to a duel and stab them to death. That's not anything that we're trying to say.
Yeah,
But
man. I mean, I tried to get this kid to leave me alone. I apologized to him for what seemed like a friggin' 10 minutes. Like, I am sorry. Like, I didn't know what else to do at that point.
right, and some people just get angry to get angry and they just start stuff with you to like to vent their own frustrations, right? Like that kid might have had something going on in his life and like nobody knows what was actually going on. But he was still a rampaging asshole about it and he could have not been instead.
Yeah, and it's like when somebody picks on you, our society basically says, "Well, maybe you should try to figure out what's bothering your bully." It's like, why do I have to solve this kid's problems? Like his solution is to make other people's life a living hell, and we're supposed to accept that and then be like, what's going on in your life, man? Maybe I can help you. No, he's not gonna tell you. I mean, you can try through the first altercation and be like, hey man, I really don't know why you're picking on me. Do you need to talk about something? Is something bothering you at home? Maybe you can try that, and they keep picking on you, then you beat the crap out of them.
Right. And I mean, like some of the kids that bullied me back in the day, there was this one kid. I'm not going to say what his name is because I don't want to blow anybody up. But he used to call me Puerto Rican all the time, and I'm not Puerto Rican. And I don't have problems with Puerto Rican people, like whatever. But I corrected him several times. I was like, I am not Puerto Rican. I am Italian and I'm Armenian, and that's all there is to it. Like there's nothing. There's no Puerto Rican in there. And it was
I
it
thought you
was the
were
fact.
I thought you were full Puerto Rican when I met you,
Oh yeah, well it's okay.
but
Now
I'm
you
not.
know.
But I don't judge, so I didn't care.
but but he was just like he just wouldn't let it go no matter how many times I corrected him. And I said, hey, like you calling me Puerto Rican and ignoring the heritage that I've told you about, like that bothers me. And he just decided that he was going to keep doing it. So it was like the second to last week of school before I could actually start driving because this happened in high school. And like it was like we were in the middle of an argument and I was like, don't you call me Puerto Rican because I'm not. And he's like, you Puerto Rican. So I was like, okay, I guess we're doing this. And like the bus is moving, like it's driving. I just get up and I walked over to his seat and I grabbed him by his shirt and I pulled up that emergency exit thing and I was like, do you want to go outside? And he's like, no, no, no. I was like, okay. And then I put it back down. The bus had stopped at that point because the alarm went off. And
Joe's crazy. I'm learning something new about Joe right now.
it's
Joe, don't. If I ever want to piss off Joe, I'm just gonna call him Puerto Rican.
okay. So the next time that we're lifting and I can't move the bar off my chest, just call me Puerto Rican and I'll take
Yeah.
care of it.
Next time Joe goes for a PR, like you goddamn Puerto Rican. By the way, I have a lot of Puerto Rican friends. This is not a rate. If you're joining the chat a little late, we're not saying anything racist. It's just part of Joe's story. Like,
Yep, just part of the story. So the bus stops right because the alarm went off when you pull that red lever up, and the kid's back in his seat. I almost said his name there. That would have been bad. But the the bus driver walks back. She's like, "What's going on over here?" And I said, "Well, he was like starting a whole bunch of crap with me. I mean, you've seen it. It happens every single day on the bus, and I did something about it." She was like, "Oh, okay," and then that was it.
yeah, and
Like,
that's how it should be. You shouldn't feel bad for defending yourself. And if you and the biggest reason why you're told to ignore bullies is because most people do not learn how to deal with confrontation at a young age. And because even when I was a kid, it's like when I was a kid I was told to ignore bullies. When my dad was a kid, he was told to beat the crap out of bullies at school. So it's almost like this shift in our the social dynamic of how we deal with our issues really started to change when we were kids, Joe. Joe and I are both in
yeah,
our 30s. When we were kids, it was already starting to shift. It was kind of like a fine line between you could beat up your bully and you had to ignore him. And now it's just totally shifted to we have to ignore the bully and punish both people involved. And I just think that our generation had already started to grow up with not knowing how to deal with confrontation, and now our generation is having kids and teaching their kids basically not how to not deal with confrontation because they never learned how to do that. And that just doesn't affect you in your personal life. That'll affect your entire life, even at work. If you're at work and you think you deserve a raise, 9 times out of 10 you're not going to ask for one because you don't know how to deal with confrontation. And asking your boss for a raise is a form of confrontation. Or if you're doing this a job and somebody's making your life hell at your job, you'll be too afraid to say something because you don't know how to deal with confrontation. You lack that confidence. And I just feel like we're not, I mean, obviously you should always try to handle things verbally. You should always try to avoid violence at all costs. But we can't be teaching our kids how to not deal with confrontation or different levels of confrontation. There's a level of confrontation where things can be handled like adults through talking, and you can handle it that way. And then there's extreme levels of confrontation where whether you're getting bullied or in school or someone's about to kill you and steal your wallet, you need to learn how to deal with that confrontation as well so that you can always come out on top.
Right. And I mean, the thing about confrontation is that it is a natural part of life, right? If you've ever had an argument with your significant other, an argument with your parents, if you don't see eye to eye with someone at some point, there's going to be a confrontation. And if you can like navigate that, right? If you can figure that out and feel confident in that, then you're going to be fine whenever you need something or whenever you have a disagreement or something like that.
Yeah, and it's almost like we're taught that we're supposed to be individuals, but then we're also taught that we have to accept everybody else's bullshit as well. So like be your own person, but if you disagree with somebody's position on something or their opinion, you have to agree with them too. So you can have your own opinion, but you also have to accept everybody else's opinion as well. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be open-minded, but like there's certain opinions that maybe you don't want to accept because it goes against your beliefs or your morals and your values, and that should be okay. And I'll tell you what, guys, even on my fitness channel, like I've had and someone had mentioned cyberbullying, and I said we'd get into that, so we'll talk about maybe cyberbullying now, Joe.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
I get trolled all the time, guys. Like let's just face it, I get trolled all the time. I've learned how to deal with trolls. In fact, I've had trolls basically convert to subscribers because I've been able to converse with them through responding to comments. And that's always my goal. When somebody's a troll, I don't just lash back at them with negativity. I try to convert them. Like I had some dude who would just post I haven't seen him in a while. I think his username was Harambe. Maybe he's here listening. He used to, in every single video, he would just post gay tank top. Every single video. And his username photo was a gorilla. Oh yeah, it was Harambe, and it was like a silverback gorilla. So every time he would post gay tank top, I would just post hairy gorilla as a response. And like that happened for like four or 5 months. And then I started noticing that if it was a video he actually liked the topic of, he would leave a positive comment. And I could tell that I had converted him to a subscriber just from being nice. So there will be instances where you can convert people to either a friend or, in my case, a positive subscriber just by how you handle it, by not letting it bother you initially. But as you guys know, my wife and I are dealing with a psycho stalker right now. This woman makes like 12 new Instagram accounts a week just to leave not only rude comments on my wife's Instagram and her YouTube channel, but then she'll actually make fake profiles and post on her own. She'll basically leave insulting comments on her own photos and then try to say it's my wife making fake profiles. Like it's insane. It's insane, guys. And they're like I've never felt so helpless in my life than dealing with a cyberbully. And I can understand why people kill themselves over cyberbullying because there's nothing you can do because it's so hard to prove that it's that somebody's making fake accounts and bullying you. So this woman is trying to say that we can't prove it's her because it's not the same IP address. Well, you can literally go like to any public Wi-Fi, make a fake account and bully somebody, and it's going to be a different IP address. Like that's just how easy it is. So it's like there's nothing you can do. So
Right.
what do you do? Luckily, we got a badass lawyer, and we're taking her down. We'll reveal the whole story once we handle it, but we like my wife and I are dealing with a lot of stress and anxiety right now because of this. We're in the middle of moving like to like 20 hours away to a whole new state. We're trying to pack things up. We're dealing with this psycho. We're dealing with a lawyer, and we're dealing with a mortgage and like all these other things that go with buying a house and moving. And it's just like we sit down sometimes and we're like, how do we deal with this? Like we're really strong people. We're strong-minded people, and it's like if we're having if we get depressed over this from time to time, imagine someone without a support system. And it's like we want to take this woman to the cleaners and put her ass in jail and make an example out of her, an example out of what can happen to you if you cyberbully, and try to turn it into a positive thing.
Right. And like I think that why cyberbullying is so bad is because there is next to nothing that you can do about it, right? Like if someone starts something with you online, right? They, start smearing stuff on your video posts or anything like that. You can have them removed, you can, comment back, you can do that, right? But that's about it. That's all that it really goes to, whereas if it was an in-person thing, right? Whoever's behind that keyboard would probably never say half of that stuff to your face.
I think even half is an overstatement. They wouldn't even say like a fraction of the crap they
Right.
say.
And the thing about it is that once they're behind that computer and you're behind yours and there's no way that the two of you could ever really interact or meet, that's where they feel empowered because they're kind of like capitalizing off of what you can't do anything about.
Exactly. And it's like when we were kids, we had AOL Instant Messenger, and people couldn't even send you a message unless you accepted it. So it was a little easier for us because if we didn't want to talk to somebody, we would just block them. It's not like it is today where you post a photo and unless you make your account private, which the whole point of social media is to not have to make your account private, but unless you make your account private, you're going to get people just leaving comments whenever they feel like it. So it's like, what do? You know what I mean?
Right. Um, I mean, it's actually kind of funny because we're talking about cyberbullying, right? And we've got some people in the chat that are really, I guess, we're hurting their feelings or something like that. Like they really don't like some of the stuff that we're saying, and I think that that's kind of funny because you decided to click on this video because we're talking about bullying, and you're getting salty and nasty about it, and that doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, yeah, you're getting salty and upset, and you're basically bullying us for having a different opinion than you, which is which is ridiculous. Now, like I said, I am more of a physical person. When I get frustrated and angry, I try my best to handle things like an adult without getting physical. But I am the kind of person where I will get physical. Not everyone is like that. Joe is not like that. Um, I mean, Joe is like that. I'm like that, but not everyone is like that. Like my wife isn't like that. That's why if my wife gets upset, I protect her. Like that's what she kind of relies on me for. And in my group of friends that I had, very close friends, I was the only one in my group of friends that is like that. So if anybody picked on my friends would try their best to handle it would try best to handle it with their words, and if they couldn't, then they would tell me because they know that if it got to the point to where they had to tell Scott, Scott was going to go make sure shit never happened again. And I never judged my friends because they didn't want to get physical to end certain conversations, and they knew they could rely on me. But the problem is if you're so singled out because you get bullied so much that you don't have a friend like me or a friend like Joe to kind of stand up for you and help you, I mean, what are you going to do? And you know what's funny to me? The same exact people who say that I'm wrong for wanting to beat up a bully will go to the movie theater right now and watch like Infinity War or Captain America or Deadpool or any other superhero movie, and they'll cheer on the superheroes as they're beating everyone's ass, but then they're telling me that I'm wrong. So it's like such a double standard. And you can't even say that's not true because the amount of money these movies make clearly shows that people like the thought of having someone protect them. Because that's what superheroes are. Superheroes are the select few that protect the people who can't protect themselves. And that movie made billions of dollars, which goes to show you the majority of people wish that superheroes existed, or else they wouldn't go see the movie. That's and I don't even think you can dispute that opinion. I feel like that's a solid fact. It's like there's
Right.
it's a monetary fact. So you can go Google search every single one of those movies aside from Justice League because but it's not Justice League's fault. It's the director's fault. People I guess I'm trying not to troll on Justice. I do like Justice League, but it didn't make that much money. But it still made enough to prove my point.
Right.
I
I
like
mean,
Seamus Addy. Shut up, nerds. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what people would say. You nerds. That's why I like watching Family Guy. They'll always like throw those random jokes in where Peter would be like, "You stupid, like you nerds," and then like he would like beat him up or something. But just goes to show you like that's society.
right. And I mean, the the thing, like, we could be in this like for years and talk about this, but the what it comes down to is that someone that decides to bully someone else is usually trying to work through something on their own, but instead of actually going and getting help to deal with it, or maybe they don't have someone to turn to, they're deciding to like inflict their suffering on someone else, and that's still not right,
Yeah,
regardless of
exactly.
whatever it is they're going through.
So we're taking questions now from you guys, so we're gonna start paying more attention. There's a post from Angie Kareem. Says I have to deal with a bunch of catty females. They don't work out and they hate on me for taking care of my appearance. How to deal with behind the back sneaks who don't say it to your face. So Angie, sometimes like you can like disengage people. Joe, whatever you're doing is making a lot of noise with your mic. Try to pull it like away from your face. Yeah. Sorry, bro. Um,
That's all good.
so here's a tactic that I like to use. I had to use this tactic once in college. There were some kids in a few of my classes that were on the hockey team, and the hockey team at my college was like one of the best like in the country, right? So these kids were like thought they were all, so awesome. And they would make fun of me for wearing tank tops to class because I would go to school, would go to college, I would go to the gym, and it was like hot outside, so I'd leave my tank top on. Like what's the big deal, you know? So they would say something every single day to me, and I was going to the cafeteria once and I was with three of my friends who I have known since high school. We all went to college together. Three girls, so it's not like they were gonna step in and help me. But anyways, I had like my backpack and all my stuff and my tray of food, and I walked by, and one of them's like, "Hey man, where'd your sleeves go?" And I was like, "They're outside. Do you want to help me find them?" Then they all just started like laughing and making fun of me. And so I went and put all my stuff down, and I walked over to their table, and I put my hands on the table, and I got down, and I got down on their level, and I just talked in the most like soothing, quiet voice I could, and I was like, "Hey guys," I was like, "You've been making fun of me for a while now. Um, if it's okay with you, I'd like to take each and every one of you outside in front of those windows, in front of the entire school, and beat the crap out of you in front of everyone. You'll get kicked off the hockey team, and something might happen to me, but I'll feel good about it because I defended myself." They never said one more thing to me. Now, Angie, I'm gonna assume you probably don't want to say something like that to your coworkers. Uh, so, but you can take the same tactic where if you know who is saying something about you, just like go over to their desk and pull up a chair and just put your like fold your hands and like put them on the table. Like it almost be like a fun game for you. It's like fold your hands, put it on the table. Just be like, let's say like the girl's name is Jessica. It's like, so Jessica, I've been noticing that you've been talking a lot about me behind my back, and I maybe you don't think that I know it's you, but I know it's you, and I know it's Barbara and Jamie or whoever else is talking. And I just want you guys to know that if you keep it up, I will start pressing charges. I'll contact HR and I'll let them handle it because I don't have to deal with this at work. It's a form of harassment, and I will make sure that you all lose your jobs or get suspended. And you just kind of say it to them in like such a calm demeanor that basically shows them that you do not care about it as much as they think you do. And I guarantee you they'll stop, or they'll be too scared to do it in general, which might stop. I see Angie typing okay like dot dot. Now, and this gets back to my original point. If you are not taught from a young age how to deal with confrontation at this point in your life, it's probably going to be really hard for you to do something like that because that's confrontation on its like most extreme level. So we're teaching our kids not to deal with confrontation in school, which leads them to not knowing how to deal with confrontation as they go to college. And then once they are in the real world, having real jobs, then having to deal with confrontation then is like a whole new ball game. So it's really hard to give advice like this because the only solution is you have to figure out a way to get confidence. And Angie, if you're going to the gym and you're taking care of yourself and you're looking good, I mean, you have the power to do this, and I believe that you can definitely do this. And you can even say something like, "Hey, you know what? I notice that you guys make fun of me for going to the gym. You know, maybe if you went to the gym, you'd have more confidence in yourself, and you wouldn't feel the need to pick on me because you would look as good as I do." Maybe you can say something like that. I guess you'd have to word it a certain way because I don't know the entire story, but I mean, I hope something like this happens. So there she is. I am programmed. This is Angie's response. I am programmed to be nice, but really breaking that pattern. People take advantage of generosity, and you are 100% right, Angie. People definitely take advantage of generosity. They definitely take advantage of nice. People see you as being nice as a weakness and like you just being a pushover. And unfortunately, that's just kind of how people are in society. But I guarantee if you just do what I said, you just kind of go over and you sit down and you talk and you just kind of lay the law down, I guarantee you like without even trying, you're going to scare these women straight. And I'll give you an example of how many of you guys remember Herbie? Do we push one for yes and two for no? I told Joe the Herbie story recently, and he couldn't believe this. Yeah, Joe. Yeah, Joe just put a one in the conversation. Does anybody remember Herbie? Hopefully you do. So
Oh, we
basically,
got a few.
so guys, this is like I have videos on it. If you type in Scott Herman Herbie Herbie, and some of you have asked me what's happened with Herbie. So basically, what happened is I moved into my house. Sorry, Joe, I'm like telling all these stories. I'm not giving you much time
It's
to
all
talk.
good.
Um, so when I moved into my new house, guys, it was winter time, and as you can imagine, moving into a new house, the last thing on your mind is changing the flowers in your mailbox. Like, who thinks like, oh my God, I just moved into my house, I need to take care of those flowers in that mailbox. No one, okay? And it was dead winter, and I live in New England, so I was more concerned with getting the inside of the house straightened out and shoveling snow. Anyways, like the flowers were dead and looked kind of bad. So I got an anonymous letter in the mail. It was from a neighbor in my neighborhood, basically insulting the shit out of me, and they were like, "Hey, just so you know, you moved in 8 months ago. Your flowers look like shit. Maybe you should change them or go back to where you came from." And I was just like, "Whoa, okay." And I didn't know who it came from, obviously, because they didn't put their real address because they were basically cyberbullying me through the mail. Um, so what I did was I went in the woods and I found a 3 foot tall Christmas tree and I stuck it in my mailbox because it was December. And I put Christmas decorations on it, and I called it Herbie, and that started this Herbie thing. And then about 2 weeks later, I got a postcard in the mail, and the postcard was a photo the woman took of my mailbox with Herbie, and then she just said all kinds of like nasty things to me on this postcard. And so then I made another YouTube video about that. And then she left me alone because Herbie was there for like at least 7 months, so she didn't say anything else. So this was like 2 years ago, right? As soon as I put my for sale sign in my yard, this woman sent me another letter, the like nastiest letter I've ever received, basically saying, "Good riddance. We're happy. We saw the sign. We're so happy you're leaving. Like we won't have to look at your shitty house anymore." I have a really nice house, guys. It's like saying
It is nice.
all these nasty things to me, and again didn't leave their name. But at this point in time, I know exactly who it is. It's number 6 in my neighborhood. Because I know all my neighbors. I know every single neighbor around me besides this woman, and this woman is like the person who orchestrates like all the community stuff, and she's like crazy about it. So I took the letter, and I wasn't gonna say anything. I wasn't gonna say anything. I was gonna let it go. But like it was bothering me so much that this woman thought it was okay to harass people through the mail, whether it was me or somebody else, right? So this is what I did. I went over to this woman's house and I knocked on the door, and the husband answered. And I said to the husband, I said, "Hello, I'm your neighbor right over there with the for sale sign. I received this nasty letter in the mail from somebody in this immediate community basically saying good riddance to me." And I gave him the letter, and it was done in handwriting. Joe, your typing is loud. Um, so I said, I gave the letter, and I said this nasty letter was sent to me, and so I am going door to door asking every single person if they know whose handwriting it is. But like as I'm saying this to him, I'm giving him like the evilest look, like I know it's you and your wife. Um, and so he takes the letter, opens it, and like closes it within point 0.5 seconds and gives it back to me. And he's like, "Oh, I don't know who this is." I was like, "Okay." I go, "I'm just going door to door asking." And so I'm saying to myself, um, if somebody came to my house and said that they got a nasty letter in the mail,
Joe.
Hi.
if somebody came to my house and said they got a nasty letter in the mail and then gave it to me, I would read it. I wouldn't just open and close it. So they know that I know it's them. And that's how I handled that situation. But like people are just so evil. Like to send a nasty letter because the flowers in my mailbox weren't fresh. Like give me a break.
Oh, seriously. Like there are so many other things that you could potentially like try to engage your neighbor about, or you could be like, "Hey, like I noticed that your flowers in your mailbox aren't like in a great spot, but I grabbed some flowers from my own mailbox. I didn't know if you wanted some extra ones." Like you could approach that a lot better and just not be an asshole right off the bat.
She could have knocked on my door and just been like, "Hey, we try to keep our mailboxes looking nice. Maybe, would you mind, taking care of that?" And I would have totally done it. I didn't even know my flowers looked like crap because I just never looked at them. And I would have been like, "Oh yeah, those are gross. I'll change them right now." Like, it's okay. Like, but maybe this woman grew up and she didn't know how to deal with confrontation unless it was behind someone's back, kind of like what Angie's dealing with right now. So her resolve was to send me a nasty letter in the mail.
Right. And like it's just like you were saying, like or like people in the chat are saying, right? It's just passive aggressive, like underhanded. I don't know how to deal with my problems, so I'm just gonna be nasty about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're 100% right. What is this? She just wanted to watch you bending over and doing the hedges. You're probably right, Straight Road. She was just so angry that I wasn't out there, shirtless mowing my lawn in a thong or something. So we had somebody else in here so that they now go to the gym earlier just to avoid dealing with people. And it sucks that you have to change your schedule to avoid these people versus you just being able to tell these people like, hey, leave me alone, or hey, we don't need to deal with you. Like, you should go to the gym early if you want to be a dink. Like, if you want to be a dink at the gym, these are the hours you can come, and then all the dinks come at this time and leave everybody else alone.
I mean, that's part of the reason why I like working out in the morning. I mean, even, sadly, when you are in Florida and I'm working out in the morning by myself, I can go to the gym at an early time so that I don't have to worry about the guys that have like 18 pairs of dumbbells.
Yeah, and it's hogging everything.
Right.
Thomas says I should do a segment just about story time. My wife and daughter give me so much crap because I tell stories a lot. So maybe I just won't tell them stories anymore. I'll just tell you guys stories. I wanted to talk about Nath loves rock music. Says I used to get bullied at school and I never stood up for myself. It's very hard to. I got scared to. And I'm not gonna lie, Nathan. Like, it is scary standing up to a bully because, I mean, there is a good chance that they might physically harm you, and that's a scary thought, and it's a thought that I wish people didn't have to deal with. Unfortunately, it's also a part of life. Like, we kind of have to just accept that if we're gonna stand up for ourselves, there may or may not be a physical altercation that's gonna happen. Like, you can't live your entire life inside this safe bubble because that's going to start to affect every facet of your life, whether it's relationships with, your boyfriend or girlfriend, or work like we talked about earlier. Just like Angie's having a hard time with these women because she wants to be nice and treat everybody the same way, which is a beautiful thing to be, and we need more people like Angie in this world. But we also need to help people like Angie learn how to deal with confrontation. Maybe maybe we should, like, instead of trying to like run a campaign like stop cyberbullying, maybe the campaign should be learn how to deal with bullying. Like these are things that you can do. Step 1, try to have a conversation. Step 2, try to have a conversation again. Step 3, beat the ever living crap out of them. Like, it's a three-step process that Joe and I are gonna put together for you guys. It's a 3-step system.
It'll be live on muscularstrength.com
Yeah,
in
be
a couple
live.
of weeks.
Yeah. And Samuel, I mean, we all need to learn how to deal with confrontation. I mean, to be honest with you guys, even as good as I was at dealing with confrontation, in my personal life, one thing that I actually had a hard time with was dealing with confrontation in business, but not so much like if somebody was bothering me, more so like negotiating. Like, I was never really good at negotiating deals for myself because I was always afraid of asking for too much, which kind of made my self-worth go down. Like, I almost convinced myself I wasn't worth what other people were getting, or I would be scared to ask for a certain amount of money because I would be afraid that people would, or that whoever I was negotiating with wouldn't want to work with me. And obviously, like, when you're negotiating when it comes to business, you can't just like be crazy and be like, I want $100,000 for a 5-minute ad on Instagram or something like that, unless you're like, a super big celebrity, like, I don't know, anybody in the Marvel movies. Um, but at the end of the day, in business, like, you need to learn how to deal with confrontation. And if you're trying to engage in business activities and somebody's interested in working with you, it's okay to ask for what you believe you're worth, because if they do want to work with you, they will negotiate. And it took me a long time to really start to understand, like, it's okay to ask for more and then negotiate from there, because the people are talking to you because they want to work with you.
Right, and that's the thing too, right? And there was a Caleb was asking in the chat, where's the line between, flirting and harassment? Where does someone trying to spark your interest turn into something inappropriate, right? And there's always a tone, right? And just to kind of reiterate what I said to Caleb, like, if someone's flirting with you or trying to talk with you like that, it's because they like you, right? So it's generally going to carry some sort of like positive tone, right? Like, they're going to compliment you, but it's not going to be like super creepy. Like, they might say, hey, like, are those new pants? Like, they look like they fit better, right? someone harassing you, like sexual harassment or something like that, they're going to say something like, man, I like how that ass looks in those pants. Like, I'd love to take them off, or, something like that. That's where that crosses. You just need to be able to interpret that.
I agree 100%. I like Jack Reynolds says, how do I deal with someone trying to make me mad by saying the same thing over and over again without fighting them? So that's a really good question. Um, Annihilator says they want a reaction, don't give it to them. And that can work, but what also works is like when you have an infection, right? If you try to ignore an infection, it gets worse. You need to find a way to neutralize that infection. And there's several different ways you can do that. Annihilator's way of not giving them a reaction, for a lot of people, that can neutralize a bully. But another way to neutralize a bully is to try to figure out something to say. So, for example, I have brothers that are like 10 years younger than me, and they would go to school, and before they even like could get bullied, I started teaching them how to neutralize being made fun of. So, for example, like your mother, like I slept with your mom last night is like a joke, or like a thing bullies like to say, like, oh, I was with your mom, or whatever, whatever. So I would tell my brothers, if someone says something like that to you, your response should be, oh, that's where she was last night? You better tell her I want dinner on the table by 7 o'clock. And then it's like what is the bully gonna do? Like, okay, I'll have her at your house by 7. You're like, all right, thanks. Like you've neutralized that bully by having like a catty remark. I don't, if you wanna, if they just want them cheeks, Alpha says. If you can tell me what the bully is saying to you, Jack Reynolds, if you don't mind posting it here, maybe maybe Joe and I can come up with something to say to you to neutralize this bully. Was
Yeah, we're
that?
pretty creative guys. We can figure it out.
Are those Boogle Boy jeans you're wearing? Yeah, and Shady Hunter, that's a good tactic too. Send back an insult that rips right through their self-esteem. Or you can do the long stroke. That's a interesting tactic. You can look that up on YouTube. Just type in the long stroke. It's a skit. It's an office skit. It's hilarious. I'm hungry for Burger King. I'm hoping that Jack types what people are saying to him.
Yeah.
And
Just gonna jump
actually,
in. Oh, go ahead.
What Ben J has said, like that's a neutralizing statement too, Ben. Just saying, okay, what do you want now? And just kind of like have a blank face.
Right. So Dark Ghost, what do I do if my friends are getting bullied and my girlfriend recently left me for a good reason and she's bullied? What do I do? I mean, if you really feel like doing something for your ex-girlfriend, I mean, you can definitely stand up. You can always stand up for someone, right? And that's I think that's important, right? So if you see someone you care about being bullied, or even if you see someone being bullied that you don't know, somebody stepping up and someone saying, like, hey, knock it off, what do you think you're doing, is going to change the tone of that interaction, and that's what's going to help balance the situation more in the person who's being bullied's favor.
And it's interesting. Somebody said that they have the signs. Oh, it was him. The signs of in the school that say "see something, say something," and that's a good thing to have. But the only thing wrong with that is the sign is implying see something, say something, but say something to like an adult or the police, or like it should be see something, say something, but that say something is something you say to the bully. Like that should be it. It should be like the poster should be somebody getting bullied and then some random person like pointing at the bully, like yelling, getting their attention. And that should be the see something, say something.
Seriously. So Jack did post. He said, "Rec basketball. This kid was trying to fight me. I walked away, and then my friend was picking on me and kept telling everyone and me that the kid beat the shit out of me." So your quote unquote friend is lying and saying that somebody beat you up, and it never actually happened.
Well, your friend doesn't sound like a friend at all, man. You should just.
But go ahead, Scott.
I mean, in a situation like it's hurting my reputation and I hated it, I mean, something like that is something hard to deal with because it's not it's not the actual person who wanted to fight you that's causing the problem. It's your friend. Maybe you can just be like, oh yeah, my friend's saying this about me because he's upset about something else that's going on in your life, or maybe I mean, do you well before I tell you what to say, do you want to stay friends with this kid talking
No,
about you?
they don't talk anymore.
Yeah, you don't talk anymore. You'd be like, oh, I saw him kissing his cousin, and so he doesn't want me to tell anyone. So he said, like, start a rumor about him. Give him a taste of his own medicine. Be like, yeah, he's telling everybody the kid beat the crap out of me. I saw him kissing his cousin, and he told me that if I said anything, that he would make it even worse. Like, just give it right back to him. What's wrong with that, right? Thank you,
Seriously.
Maxine. I like that. I like that a female subscriber is telling me that my logistics are good.
Seriously.
Instead of just all the testosterone-filled men in our chat being like, yeah, yeah, we actually, yeah, kissing his cousin straight road. Have you guys ever seen Super Troopers when the main guy, the sheriff of the Super Trooper guys, the highway patrol, he's like, if you don't tell me, like, I forget the exact context, but he's talking to the local police guy. He's like, if you don't tell me what's happening, I'm gonna embarrass you. He's like, oh yeah, how are you gonna embarrass me? He's like, embarrass you like I saw you having sex with your cousin back in '89, embarrassing you. And the guy's like, oh. Movie's so funny. Yeah, Vern, I hope you do show this to your nephews. And that's why we try to keep the context of these conversations clean, because we do have subscribers of all ages here, really young to probably even like 50s or 60s. So the worst. Oh, I thought Ben J was saying that Super Troopers was the worst movie ever. Yeah, 13 Reasons. I didn't even watch it. That was terrible. That should have never been made. Yeah,
Yeah,
I hear that,
I have a lot
Darkos.
of bad feelings about that show. I think that the fact that it was made kind of like glorified suicide, and like how that interacts with bullying, and that actually I think that just made the whole issue worse.
Yeah, I agree. Uncle Lou's here. Hey, what's up? Oh, hey, what's up, Lou? Lou, I saw your comment saying that you really enjoyed the last podcast. Thanks a lot for posting that on the last video I had. That meant a lot. Scott, I like your new punch button intro. Ah, thank you so much. Oh, and guys, by the way, the app was submitted to the Apple Store on Friday. We're just waiting on the Apple Store, but it's the final version of the app. It only took 8 months. It was supposed to be launched 8 months ago. It only took 8 months extra. We won't even get into that. That's another bane of my existence, but it's there. Ah, thanks, Lou. Yeah, Dark Ghost. I mean, but suicide, unfortunately, is can be the end result of a lot of different things, and emotional abuse from bullying, whether it's in person or cyberbullying, can lead to suicide. And a lot of the times, it's because the person feels singled out. They can't defend themselves because they're afraid of getting in trouble, and they're so singled out that they don't have anyone they can turn to. And we need to stop that from happening. We need to show people, not just kids, people, how to deal with confrontation, how to be confident. And I mean, I don't know, maybe this podcast could eventually turn into something more than what it is now. Right now this podcast is just, me and Joe talking about a subject. Maybe a lot of kids watch this and they take our advice and they start to realize, like, I need to be confident, and maybe it helps them. Maybe this podcast will prevent people listening right now from either hurting themselves or committing suicide. Like, it's scary to think about, but it's something that could happen.
Right. And just like, obviously just to throw something out there about that, if you're ever thinking about, hurting yourself, or you think that you're not worth being here, you are, to someone you are worth absolutely everything. And
I agree 100%.
if you decide to take that into your own hands, I mean, you're missing out on a whole lot. You could be missing out on some of the best things of your life because of something that's going on right now. And obviously, if something's going on, you feel like you need help, get help. Talk to somebody about it. That's the most important thing that you can do.
I agree 100%. So I want to address Mike Fury, and I have a perspective on this. And Mike, I'm not gonna say this to belittle your opinion. That's not what I'm about. I like your comment. Mike Fury says if you beat up bullies, then you're one too, with a question mark. You wouldn't like your new rule anymore. So he's basically asking, don't you think if you beat up a bully that you're a bully? Well, let's take it to a really like far extreme, okay? Let's say demons are real. This is like a real far extreme example. Let's say, well, let's not even go that far. Let's say there's a serial killer and he's killing lots of people and he's killing everyone in your neighborhood. And then he finally makes it to your house and he's already killed 12 people. And that serial killer enters your house and you just put a bullet right in his head and you kill him. Does that make you a serial killer or does that make you a hero? And I guess that's the fine line here. If you're actively seeking out to beat up people who you think are bullies, maybe that makes you kind of a bully. Maybe you're just trying to vent out some urge you have to fight people. But if you're just going throughout your normal life and you see somebody getting bullied or harassed and you do something about it and it does get physical, I don't think that makes you a bully. I think that makes you a hero. Standing up for someone beside yourself is a selfless act, and it takes a lot of courage to do that. And I would never judge anyone for protecting someone else. Like you should want to protect total strangers. That's what makes us strong. That's what makes us human. Protecting each other, looking out for each other.
Yeah, and I mean I think that that's a really important part of life that people don't really do anymore. And I think that that kind of comes back to the whole confidence part, because nobody stands up for themselves, and then nobody has the confidence to stand up for anybody else either. So everybody that is in a position where they're being bullied, they just continue to be bullied, whereas everybody that's doing the bullying doesn't have anybody step up. There's no consequences, there's no ramifications. So they just feel like they can continue doing it and continue doing it and continue doing it.
Nova just left a message. I haven't heard about that. Can you elaborate on the 15-year-old kid Junior and what happened to him? I would like to know more about that story. That's a whole other conversation, Frank. I do believe in ghosts and angels and demons and all that stuff. That can be a podcast.
I'll put that one in the book.
Yeah, put that in the book, Joe. Joe's the bookkeeper, so any ideas we get, Joe writes them down. Not for sale says, but in most schools, regardless if there was bullying or not, if you even get into a physical confrontation, you get punished for it, even if you didn't swing first or not. Yeah, I think that needs to change. Like that needs to change because that basically to me, that's kind of like when I was a kid. My brother would pick on me. I would beat the crap out of him. He would start punching me. My dad would come in the room. He would give us both a crack across the ass and then ask what happened. And I feel like that's kind of like what schools are doing. They're not trying to figure out who started it. They're just saying, we don't care who started it. You're both in trouble. Well, it's like, well, he tried to stab me with his pencil and I defended myself. Doesn't matter. You're still suspended because you should have let him stab you or ran away while he was chasing you trying to stab you. That's the solution that you're supposed to do. And it's like your mind just like melts from that. But that's really what's happening. And again, that is an extreme example, but at the end of the day, it's still a part of what's happening. Kids are getting bullied, they're not allowed to defend themselves, so they either get into a fight and get suspended, they turn into like a shell of what they could have been in life because no one ever stuck up for them, and they just basically became more and more introverted because of the bullying, or the third thing happens, they kill themselves. So basically,
Right.
schools are furthering the belief that you should let people pick on you, you should not learn how to deal with confrontation, and you either need to become more introverted or kill yourself to deal with the problem. That's what schools are teaching.
Right. And I mean, I've seen a couple of comments go by about like the equal punishment thing, and that like when I got into a fight in sixth grade, that was exactly what happened, right? So this kid said a whole bunch of awful stuff. We went outside, a fight happened. He did swing first, right? Like I didn't swing first. I knew at least a little bit better than that. But we both got suspended for the same amount of time, and we both got sent to the same out of school like suspension program that everybody had to go to if they got suspended.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've only done this once, but I waited for some kid in the bathroom once. I was gonna beat the crap out of him because he was picking on a girl. Yeah. It's so funny. So this just goes to show you how different things are. My daughter's gonna start college next year, right? So we're watching South Park, and it was the bullying episode. It was the bullying episode of South Park, and in the middle of the episode, like all these different things were going on, and like different people kept waiting in the bathroom for someone else to come in to basically bully them. Because when I was in high school, if you wanted to get in someone's face, you waited in the bathroom during lunchtime, and then if they came to the bathroom, then you confronted them because there was like nobody there to see anything. Anyways,
Right.
that was happening in this episode where Stan was waiting in the bathroom for Kyle because he was mad at Kyle, and then Mr. Mackey was waiting for somebody in the bathroom. Then this bully busters guy was waiting for somebody in the bathroom, and then somebody was waiting in the bathroom for the bully busters guy to bully him. And I'm laughing, and my daughter's like, "Why is this funny?" I was like, "What do you mean? You never heard of somebody waiting in the bathroom to bully someone?" She's like, "No." I was like, "Oh my god, I'm old."
Oh man.
Are you religious, Scott? If you don't mind me asking. Actually, I am. I grew up Catholic. I was baptized second grade. I did my confirmation. My father actually, to spend more time with me and my brother, he taught a lot of our CCD classes, which was really cool. So, yeah, I'm pretty religious. Although, yeah, well, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, that's a whole can of worms.
Yeah, a whole other can of worms. Wait, what is this? They stabbed. So Nova is now explaining to me what happened to the 15-year-old kid. They stabbed him and used a machete, all because the junior looked like a kid that was recording a girl getting pumped by her uncle, which is weird. And when the kid was, oh my gosh, that's terrible. I gotta look this up. That's absolutely terrible. But it's like, would as many of these things happen if people knew how to stand up for themselves and deal with confrontation? And we're getting to the tail end. We said it was only going to be an hour. We're
We're running
actually
on an hour and a half.
running on an hour and a half. Um, I kind of want to end this episode on a positive note. Bullying sucks, guys. Unfortunately, we live in a society that's progressively getting worse in terms of how to deal with confrontation. I feel like you should be allowed to express yourself, but there's definitely things that are considered right and there's things that are considered wrong. Like everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I feel like there's a fine line as to what's considered right and wrong, just like overall morals and values. And we need to make sure that when we're making decisions in life that we're following at least a baseline of what is considered in society to be right and wrong when we make our decisions. So if you see something that you think is wrong, you should be allowed to say something. You shouldn't be afraid to voice your opinion. You shouldn't be afraid to confront somebody. And it almost feels like we live in a society that's trying to, like, if you want to get into conspiracies and all that, I've read all kinds of stuff on this subject. It's almost like people say there's a conspiracy where like the government's trying to make us more docile to control us easier, which I mean kind of makes sense. So many people are afraid to like just stick up for themselves. Back you watch all these old movies where like, way back in the day, taxes were raised. Like we'll say like Robin Hood days, like, we're gonna raise taxes and take all your money, and everyone just went batshit crazy and grabbed the pitchfork. Like nowadays, if the government does something that really hurts us, we're not gonna really do anything about it. We'll like protest with signs, but like, it's not like 20,000 people are gonna grab pitchforks, guns, and knives and go march against the government. Like it's just not gonna happen. We're a lot more docile now. I mean, that's getting really deep into the subject of bullying, obviously, but it's just like we're becoming cattle. We're becoming easy to control. because we're afraid of the consequences of what will happen to us if we do what we know is right in our hearts.
Right. And just to take off right from there, if you, in like the whole cosmic scheme of everything, if you are doing what is right in your heart, what is right to you, then you're doing the right thing. If the rules of your school or the rules like wherever, right, wherever you're at, if the rules where you're at prevent you from doing the right thing to you, then I'm not saying break them, but follow your own rules.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Unless obviously what you if you think what's right is bullying someone, then no, you're wrong.
Right. Well, then you're going to run into someone who follows their own rules and thinks that bullying is bad, and you're going to get it punched in the face.
What is this? Michael Thomas. When I had to deal with bullying way back when, I go home, ask my grandmother to call the school, and tell them if it happens again, I will make that kid regret it. The school handled those quickly. Dude, you have a badass grandma. Can you imagine like a grandma? Hello? If Jimmy bullies my granddaughter one more time, I'm going to beat the shit out of him.
That would be
Handle it.
hilarious.
Handle that. Can you imagine? My grandma would do that. My grandma would be like, that's not happening.
My grandma wouldn't even call. She'd just go down there.
Yeah, 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 right. Where is he? I'm gonna smack him with this cane. That would be awesome. Local grandma beats the crap out of child bullying her grandson. Oh my god, that would be so awesome.
Man. Um, I mean, I think that's pretty much all I've got.
Yeah, me too, man. I mean, I'm really happy that you guys joined the discussion today. When the podcast is over, it will be uploaded to YouTube as a normal video with its own comment section. If you guys have suggestions for future podcasts, leave comments there or comment on any video really, but if you comment on this one, it'll be easier to find, obviously. Joe and I, we started the Vitality Mentality because this podcast is all about positive thinking in any aspect of your life. And I feel like so far we're on a pretty good track. If you guys missed the last podcast, make sure you go check it out. It's on my channel. And Joe is in the process of getting all of these uploaded to iTunes and the Google Play Store and all that stuff. So once we're able to get everything uploaded to there, we'll obviously have links for that. That way you guys can see all the podcasts in one place.
Yep. So everything it's all been submitted to iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. So we'll have some notifications in just a couple of weeks, at the most, allegedly, when we know that it's there. And then as far as suggestions, we also do have an email address that I'm going to go ahead and pop into the chat as soon as I am on my correct account. So give me just a second here, and that'll also be an option as far as how to reach out and how to contact us. Just one more second here.
Yeah, we'll put the email in the info section of the video too. So.
Oh yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, we'll just do that. So everyone, thank you so much for hanging out with Joe and I on the Vitality Mentality. This has been episode 2, talking about bullying and how to hopefully this podcast has maybe opened up your minds to not be so afraid to stick up for yourself. And if you're currently getting bullied now, you have some options, and if you can talk to your parents about it, definitely do that. If you can talk to your friends about it, definitely do that. If you've got no one to talk to, we'll do our best to help you in the comment section, but it might be a good time in your life to really just take control and be that confident person that you are and you deserve to be every single day. Because everybody has the strength inside them to do what's right and stick up for themselves and be successful. Every single one of you does, and I want you all to know that.
And Scott just said it so wonderfully. I can't say anything else.
That's how I roll, Joe. That's how I roll. All right, guys. Well, hey, peace and love. Make sure you get those gains. And we did have a suggestion for some future topics on fitness stuff. which we definitely will do. But we wanted to start the podcast off with something a little different, just to show you guys, that we're more than just fitness guys, that we actually have brains and they work on many different topics. Awesome. All right, guys, I hope you all have a great night. And Joe, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. for chest.
Yep, bright and early.
Later, guys.
See ya.